Spiritualism, a search for something sacred, is a need of the hour today. Individuals who practice this spirituality do it through various modes: meditation, yoga, religion, or self-reflection. In a recent study conducted, it was found that people who are spiritual in nature or practice spiritualism show 5 positive traits. They are gracious, they are compassionate, they self-actualize, they flourish, and they live life to the maximum. Who better than SriM to talk about this? SriM, born as Mumtaz Ali Khan, is a living yogi. SriM left his home at the tender age of 19 to search for his master, Sri Maheshwarnath Babaji in the Himalayas. After getting initiated from him and taking his blessings, he moved on to find the purpose of his life. He traveled across the breadth of this country and interacted with a number of illustrious spiritual leaders. In 2015, he took a Padyatra, Walk of Hope, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, in which he covered 7,500 kilometers covering 11 states with only one objective: to restore the innate spirituality of this nation. Today, he owns a Satsang Foundation which takes care of 2 schools in Andhra Pradesh, and he is currently residing in Madanapalle in Andhra Pradesh. He is conferred with the Padma Bhushan Award in 2020. Let's now reflect listening to SriM.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Good morning and Sat Shri Akal. First of all, I'm very happy to address the Rotary meet. Before I start, I need to say thanks to Sri AVM Balu, my friends, Sri Ramesh Reddy and Mr. Jacob, for making sure that I attend this Rotary meet. I've addressed many Rotary meets, and I'm very fond of the motto of the Rotarians, service above self, which was coined by none other than the founder, Mr. Paul P. Harris. So, I also believe that service above self is also the essence of our spiritual movement in this country, in this ancient land. Having said that, let me start with a mantra from the ancient Vedas, just 4 lines, which kind of states what everyone desires and what everyone should desire if we need to have a beautiful world. And the mantra is Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, Sarve shantu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhapat bhavet. If I may add, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, which means may everybody be happy. This is the gist, Sarve bhavantu, may the entire world be happy. Unfortunately, we are passing through, I must also thank Mr. Rotarian Muthu Palaniappan, who addressed the gathering when we started, and Rotarian Natarajan, Rotarian Jagannathan, and Rotarian R. Ramesh. So, coming to the subject, unfortunately, while it's in our hearts to say Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, may the whole world be happy, ma kaschid dukkhapat bhavet, and let not pain affect anybody. Unfortunately, we are passing through a difficult phase now, where sorrow seems to be everywhere in some way. Now, this is the time when we need to go back to the source and revive our hopes. It's not as, of course it is bad, there is no question about that, but with hope and faith we can move forward. By and large, the COVID-19 wave is kind of going down now. We never know where these viruses lurk. So we have to be careful, social distancing and so on and so forth, which the WHO and all our doctors say we should be doing. Having said that, if we don't have a little bit of faith and hope, I have seen this throughout this pandemic. When you have faith at least in your essential self. Now, according to Vedanta, our essential self is none other than or no other than a spark of the supreme all-pervading divinity, which means in every heart there is a flame of the divine, and that divinity is not actually different from that supreme reality in some way. And if we can only tune in or zero in on this, I don't like the word zero so much, except zero doesn't mean nothing. Shunya means no thing, it doesn't mean nothing. It means nothing that one can understand with our five senses, that's what it means. Anyway, if we can zero in on our inner being, the essence of our being, which is our own self, in that self, well, depending on how one approaches, because in this country, in India, we have different approaches to divinity. Some would say that when the heart is clear and clean, divinity is reflected in it. Some would say that it is part of the divinity, and some would say that it is divinity itself. There is no difference. It depends on how you look at it. Advaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Brahmanuja, and so on. So, but everybody agrees that deep down in our heart there is a divine essence, and that divine essence by its very nature is Purna, complete. Purnamada, Purnamidam. The whole thing started from that completeness, and this which we are is also complete. Purnamidam, not only Purnamada. Thing is, but we always live incomplete lives because nature and the world are such that we come across blocks, we come across things that prevent us from going into this. And therefore the science of meditation has been taught for so many. I will come back to that when I touch the practical aspect of this. But let me go into this. Now this treasure that we have in our hearts, it's not as if it was only mentioned in ancient India. If you read the New Testament, I consider Jesus to be a yogi, a parivrajak. Forget the church, I'm not talking about the church. The individual, the great yogi. He said something, some of the things he said are very interesting to note. He said, lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. There's a treasure in us which nothing can steal from us. And according to my understanding, even death cannot steal that from us, because the body goes, but that doesn't go anywhere. One. The other is, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. This is from St. Matthew's. That means if you mourn today, please have patience, one day you will smile. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Now this is a message for this particular period which we are going through. Whether the comfort is going to come now or comfort is going to come after, but there is comfort which we should understand in our hearts. And relevantly, every hill shall be brought low and every valley shall be filled. That means when there is a downward thing, it's certainly going to come up again. It's not as if it's going to permanently remain down. Hope is actually life. The young lady who started off this just now, she said that we had a walk of hope. Yes, I went with a lot of people, friends who came with me. In 2015, I think, we walked from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. It was the other way around, not Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And every day we were on foot, walking on the road. We spent 1 year and 3 months. In fact, in personal life, I thought my wife was going to give me a divorce. 15 months, 1 year and 3 months we spent on the road. Every morning getting up, walking. We saw the whole of this country, even small villages, big cities. And I think today in this diverse world which we have in this country, caste, creed, religions, we are surviving and getting on because there is hope. Everybody has hope. We've called it the walk of hope. In Hindi we call it Asha Yatra. It was a walk of hope. And actually more than giving something to others, we learned many things from others. We learned that this country will survive eternally because it has this hope in it that we will stay together and work out. Differences are there, but still they can be sorted out. Things have to move forward. This requires faith. Now, faith is a kind of, you can say faith is the sister of hope. When I say faith, I mean first intrinsic faith in oneself. It was an interesting talk with Mr. Rotarian Muthu Palaniappan, who said he came here and started with a 10,000 rupees investment. Two things are involved: hope, faith. You have faith in yourself, you can do things. You have hope that this faith will take you across all barriers and all boundaries. And this is exactly the Vedantic message, that deep inside, I'll come down to the situation, I'll touch on it. We need to have a base. In us, there is energy which can be tapped only if we have faith that it exists and it can be tapped. This has to be there. There is a nice little story which Swami Vivekananda was very fond of, about a herd of deer which were attacked by a pride of lions in the forest. So in this melee, one of the little lion cubs got lost among the deer and the rest of the pride went away. Now the poor deers, they looked after this little cub, they thought one more little thing, and it grew up and became a lion, full grown lion. Now this lion was a vegetarian because it lived with the deer and it behaved like a deer. It was very gentle, it wouldn't hurt anybody. It actually didn't realize that actually it was a lion and not. So one day another pride came to a pride of lions, a group of lions, to attack they come only when they're looking for food generally, not like human beings who like to kill even when we are not hungry. They kill only for food. Anyway, they came there and they attacked the deer, and then suddenly they found out that there is one among us living here, making the same kind of noises like a deer, eating the same food. So the head of the pride said, "Hey, don't you know you're a lion?" He said, No, I'm a deer. He said, "Come." So he pulled him, so it's a story of course, so he pulled him towards a pond where the water was like clear like a mirror and said, "Look." He looked and he looked back and he said, "Hey, I look like you." He said, "Yeah, you're us. You're not belonging to the deer fam. Roar," he said, and then he roared for the first time. The story simply means it's not a comparison between a deer and a lion. The story illustrates, as Swami Vivekananda said, he was very fond of saying, is that somebody asked him, is meditation hypnosis, self-hypnosis? He said, no. Matter of fact, it is de-hypnosis. It is waking up from the understanding that you are a limited human being to the understanding that you are a part of the all eternal, all-pervading divine. It's a de-hypnosis, he said. So in states when we are in real bad, I have to say you another story how faith helps. Faith and hope. I think I have a little more time, few more minutes. There is a story about the founder of Islam, the Prophet. He had to run away overnight from Medina because he was attacked he knew that he was going to be killed by the Bedouins. So he had to run off at night. He had only one faithful survivor, one faithful assistant of his, who was Omar, who was also a good a swordsman. and they left at the middle of the night. Halfway through they got tired, and in the desert there was a cave. So they went into the cave. Now inside the cave they sat and they prayed, no food. While they were praying, they heard the sound of hoops. So the assistant of the Prophet said, "Sir, we are going to be killed." He said, "Why?" "I can hear the sound of the hoofs of the camels and the horses. And from my understanding, I've counted, there are at least 25 people coming. And there is nothing else here except the cave. If they come into the cave, we are finished." And his teacher supposed to have told him, "Listen, you haven't understood me for all these years." And he also said, "And we are alone, we are just the two of us. And there are 22 people coming." He said, "See, have you listened to me ever? Don't you know that there is a third who is more powerful than all the 22 and hundreds and thousands of people? We are connected to that who is mightier than these 22, the third." And Umar said, "Where?" He said, "Okay, you relax, you do your prayer. I'll tell you later." So the story is that the riders came, and when they came to the cave, they said to each other, "There is somebody hiding here, probably." So the leader went to look at the mouth of the cave. In the desert, there are these huge desert spiders. In the interim period when they went in and these people came, the desert spider had built a huge web around the mouth of the cave. So the leader said, "No, nobody could have gone in. If they have to go in, they have to break the web. So there's nobody there." So they rode off. And the Muhammad said to his assistant, "So see, this is the third one who has helped us, who you couldn't see. Hope, faith." With faith, whether you call that being by any name. In fact, the Rigveda says, "Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti." The truth is one. The wise call it by many names. Understanding is that there is this truth which is there, and a spark of this is in all of us. And if we can tune into that, I think basically that's what meditation is all about. Dhyana is one pointed attention in the heart. When I say heart, it's not the organ that pumps blood. I'm talking about the hridaya. Please watch. The word hridaya, the last word is daya. Hridaya. So, and it's unique. It's not unique to one person, every human being. In fact, every living being, but other living beings do not have the capacity to consciously recognize it. We do as human beings. And inside, so therefore basically meditation is to tune into that self. Therefore, faith and hope go together. They're like the rivers that merge into the ocean. And if this much is there, we can fight, we can go against any problem. I have noticed this. I come down to the present time we are passing through. My parampara is Kriya Yoga, but let's not discuss Kriya, but any yoga, any meditation, any faith. You will find that people who had some faith in a divine being, they may not all be yogis and Vedantists who think that the divine being is inside, maybe not, but have been able to pass through this pandemic much better than others. Not only that, faith brings strength, and strength gets rid of fear. I would say that 50% of our problem has been during the panic was fear. Why? Because fear immediately breaks down your immunity. Sorry if there are doctors, I can't argue or discuss with you, but it's a fact that when you are afraid, when you are down in the dumps, your immunity systems also fail. Even if you go any drugs, any medicines, if the immunity system fails, it's very difficult to revive a person. However, if you have that, then I'm not saying that medical treatment is not required. I'm only saying that when this happens, there is more strength, there is more energy, there is more chance of success, there is more chance of coming out of the situation. I have seen this throughout. And of course, there are some immunity boosters, which I can't discuss with you right now. There are some yogic, well, why not? There are some yogic techniques. Two simple things which I have taught to so many people, and I have evidence that it helped many people. I have evidence from a very senior doctor in the AIIMS in Rishikesh that a patient who, I'm not saying any names, a patient who was, they thought is not going to come out of the hospital has walked free and is now troubling me to do this, do that. What happened? Basically, in the midst of all the treatment, she continued to do the pranayam, and she continued to do, sorry, I shouldn't say he or she, this person, continued to do a particular technique which is a great immunity booster. Now, immunity boosters meaning, first, let me tell you, faith, first, foremost immunity booster, hope. That if it is down, it is to come up at some point. We are going to come out of here. We are going to achieve it. We are going to hope. And this is well known to a sadhak. When you start your spiritual journey, you think, oh my God, how am I going to do this? It's a long journey. If you don't have hope, you probably quit. If you have hope, you stick. And you achieve it. And when you have faith and hope, divinity is also by your side, believe me. So, before I go into this, a small 1 minute immunity booster I am going to show you. Basically, we have forgotten how to breathe. We always breathe, we think that breathing means to take the breath into your lungs, inhale, pull your stomach in, somehow there is this fear that the tummy might bulge, and then you fill your chest, then you look like an athlete. What we forget is that breathing also involves the lower part of the lungs. Send in some oxygen there, your tummy is not going to bulge. In fact, your stomach muscles will become stronger. So, in yogic breathing, which is an immunity booster, and especially in a situation where you have a virus like COVID-19, which generally attacks the lungs and causes the bronchioles to get blocked and create pneumonia, to keep the lungs irrigated with oxygen is a very important thing. And the exercise is simply to take a deep breath and raise your hands up. Why raise your hands up? Because all this area is then free. So, when you inhale, hold, push your air down, take it up again, exhale, bring your hand down. I have, during the COVID, when it was going on at its height, the first wave, I recorded this on YouTube and I've sent many. If you go and check on YouTube to get details, SriM, just put SriM on YouTube and you will get these exercises. The other is a simple exercise called Brahmari. Now, Brahmari is basically like making the sound of a bumblebee. Recently, a doctor from the WHO said, hum your way to health. It's like humming. How do you do that? So, you just take a breath and as you exhale, make a humming sound like the bumblebee which comes outside your window. So, like this. Spiritually, it awakens the centers in the Sahasrara. Physically, it's an immunity booster because it builds nitric oxide in your system, in your breathing apparatus. And nitric oxide is a great deterrent against virus attacks, infections. Do it for 5 minutes every day, Brahmari. If you combine with closing your ears and doing, you also massage the vagus nerve endings in your ear, and therefore the vagus nerve, which is in charge of the heartbeat as well as the lungs, is also relaxed. What we do is put our thumb in this, close it. This has been demonstrated. So many hundreds of people have tried this and it has been of great use. Even while they are hospitalized and sometimes to prevent them from being hospitalized. Of course, again, let me give you the precaution. Be practical, wear masks, social distancing, all this is fine, but people get it in spite of that. So these are two practical exercises that I wanted to give you. Before I conclude, lest we think that this is the first time that the world is going through this situation, I have something to read out. I'll read only excerpts, but please listen carefully. In 1918, there was something called the Spanish flu. I don't know, many of you might have heard this. In 1918, there was this Spanish flu. Why was it called the Spanish flu? It has nothing to do with Spain, really, because those days no news came out of Spain and every other country could control its media. So they said, oh, it came from Spain. Even now people say it came from somewhere, from there, here. Fact is, it is here. How to deal with it, that is more important. Doesn't matter where it came from. So anyway, I'm going to read you something written by a great writer whom I admire, whose name is Professor Gerard de Groot. Maybe you might have read Professor Gerard de Groot. This is about this Spanish flu of 1918. See how many people died, what happened, and how we bounced back. So we will bounce back definitely from this also. Like this old song, Hum Honge Kamyab, yes, we will definitely come out of this. We have to be careful. We have to do what is essential. We need to have faith. We need to have hope. So let me just quickly read this. In April 1918, 20 sumo wrestlers in Taiwan became mysteriously ill. 3 died. Some became so sick that they couldn't again ever do any sumo wrestling. I won't read the exact thing, but I will. There were diagnoses of colitis, bronchitis, pneumonia. Finally, they found out that it was the real culprit was influenza. Those days, influenza was not known. There was no real treatment. In fact, some people might smile at this. The only treatment available was they were told to drink whiskey. That didn't help, of course, but I'm sure in the evening everybody has a drink. So those who drink will be happy to hear that. But it didn't work as a cure. Maybe it pepped up their faith or made them happy. I don't know. But anyway, so then what happened? This was named the Spanish flu for some strange reason. So, and there was, it remained, I must tell you how many people died with the Spanish flu. 30 million people died. Spanish flu, no treatment. We are in a better state. At least we know there is vaccination, treatment is possible. We know this. But in those days it was a mystery. People were dying by the hundreds. 30 million people is the number of death number if you put 2 world wars together. They died. And what happened? We bounced back. It was an international affair. It was called the Spanish flu. But so all I am saying is, let's not lose hope. We will bounce back. Keep in mind that all fear does not help immunity. So have faith. Sing bhajans, listen to mantras, do meditation, do breathe, do something, and hold on to the understanding that if we are down, we are going to go up. In fact, things are better now, and I'm sure they will move forward. So have faith, and have faith's elder sister is hope. So stick to hope, and certainly we shall move forward. My time is over. There are 15 minutes are there. I was told that there might be a question answer session. If you
We have some more time, sir.
yeah, but I want to wind up. So I think I'll spend the rest of the time. If you have any questions, we can discuss the matter. My concluding statement is, have faith in oneself. If you believe in God, have faith in God. And have hope that we will bounce back from the situation that we are in. open to discussion. Thank you.
Hello.
Really insightful and illuminating talk by Sri M. Thank you so much. The foundation is what makes
Swapna, please hold. Shivaraman,
sustainable
please
and
hold.
vital.
Over to Paul for a question and answer session, please.
Master, we have a few questions from
Sir.
the audience.
Sir.
The first one is during your walk of faith in the interaction with the nation, what are the three top aspirations of the people, and like, no, what was it fringing on hope, or was it fringing on something else? So, what was your feedback? How did you think? What are the three top aspirations of the people?
See, aspirations of every citizen of this country, as far as I have seen, whether they are in a rural area or whether they are in the cities, they want to live together and consider this nation as part of their whole psyche. Nobody wants any divisive tendencies to come up. This is what I noticed throughout my walk. I have gone to temples, I have gone to mosques, I have gone to churches, because religion plays a very deep part in our country. It does in other countries, but in India it's special because it has. And I kept stressing on them that look, we are all human beings, and being human beings, we are part of the same group. We are not different. We may change our labels, we may have other names, we may belong to a religion. As long as I don't think that I am the only person who is right and the other is always wrong, this country has great potential. This is and the aspirations. Sometimes you walked into little villages. We were walking, okay, little villages where there was nothing. We went to a small village in rural Maharashtra where the population was 800 or 500 or something like that. And the word had spread that there's some guy walking for peace and hope. And they were the villages with their, those in Maharashtra, and they wear those white topis, Gandhi caps. They were all waiting outside, including the sarpanch. And we were welcomed, taken under a peepal tree, made to sit down. And the poor guy, somehow they managed to give tea to all the 300 people or so who were walking with us. Somehow they managed. And we sat down and had a chat under the peepal tree, and they had nothing against anybody. They were the wonderful thing, this is India. I walk around the village and I see there's a tomb. It's a dargah because there is some green color on it. So I asked the village sarpanch, what is this? He said, this is the tomb of a saintly person who lived here, a Muslim guy who used to live here. I said, sir, now who is looking after? He said, his family is dead and gone, there is nobody here now. We are all Hindus. We are looking after the tomb because he was a saintly person that matters. This is something deep in our system because the philosophy and religion of this country is kind of, you can't confine it to any small location or any. Look at the statement, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Does Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu means only I should be happy, or I will be happy, or my happiness is all that is my concern? No, because this is of the recognition that every human being has the divinity in you. So this is there even if people don't know Vedanta. It's deeply there in most people's hearts here. So I think with a little bit of effort, there is great hope for this country. Aspiration, the people, they're not very this thing about making a lot of money or doing that, all that. But they know they want to be happy, they want to be peaceful, they want to live together, and they're proud of the country. This is very important to note. This is what I felt, sir.
Thank you for that answer, Sri M. Another question that has come up is, how do you overcome anxiety?
What is that? How do you overcome? I didn't get that.
Anxiety.
Anxiety, oh yes. Now, honestly, it's not so easy to overcome anxiety. Some people think that to get rid of anxiety, when you are about to do something or talk to someone, think of all the good things that will happen and don't worry and so on. I always, before I start something, look at the worst scenario. If this happens, how do I handle it? Then all those little things become irrelevant. And generally it ends up that there is no such calamity coming. But what I mean to say is, anxiety is a fear that comes because we don't have enough faith in ourselves. So if we develop faith in ourselves, if you go back and look at our lives when we were anxious in different situations, and we say, but then everything turned out okay, even though I was anxious. So slowly handle the factor that understand deeply that anxiety is not going to help. That is the first thought that should come. If I am anxious, it is not going to help me in any way in whatever I am trying to do. When this thought sinks deep in, the brain will work out ways and means to handle the anxiety. So this thought is essential. Okay. If there are any practical exercises, yes, a little bit of deep breathing with your eyes closed, with your complete attention on your breath helps generally to free oneself from. Suppose you are going for an interview, you are anxious, you are going to meet. Sit down quietly somewhere. Close your eyes, go deep within. I mean, in the sense, watch your breath, inhale and exhale. Basically, this is the same thing in a developed form called vipassana. But just watch your inhalation, watch your exhalation. Spend 2 minutes this way, and then go. And say to yourself, I'm going to face this situation. I have faced many such situations. I will come out successful in this. That's all that is required. And believe me, the human mind is like connected to each other. So if I am peaceful and if I mean good, the guy who sits in front of me, however aggressive, slowly begins to sense it. And then they know, oh, this guy doesn't mean any bad thing. So then everything settles down. So, any other question?
Thank you. Another question, again related to the first one, would be: in the wake of severe adversity, both physical and in the professional world, how do you keep your faith at this time?
Keep your faith.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the time when you should keep your faith. When everything is hunky-dory, what is the need of faith? Everything is all right. It's only when you're down in the dumps that we need to have faith. Yes, I'm going to come up from this. So there is no technique for this. You should understand that we have passed through. This is why I wanted to read about, I read about the Spanish flu. 30 million people dead, and we have bounced back to normal. People have forgotten what is the Spanish flu. In the same way, all situations in life, when they are difficult, we should go ahead saying that I have hope, that I am going to work on this. Let me see what will happen. I'll tell you why. If I sit down and worry about, oh, I won't succeed, what is going to happen? I am not going to take even the first step. So, forget all the negative thoughts in your mind and take your first step. What is the first step? Have faith in yourself. All, let me tell you this. Do you know that you might be knowing Thomas Alva Edison, one of the greatest inventors we had, who didn't even go to school probably. He worked after 99 failures. The 100th effort was successful. What was that? The electric bulb. Today you switch on, you flick a switch and you have the light. Poor Edison worked so hard on it. He failed 99 times. He didn't give up. That's called hope. And the 100th was successful. So we have the bulb now. We don't know how much effort was put into this today. We just switch it on. So that kind of faith is very, very important to have. If you have that kind of faith, believe me, things will work out. It has happened to me. Well, if they don't work out, move forward. Leave it and move forward. Something else is going to work out. Use your failure as a stepping stone. Relax for some time and figure out why you failed and move forward. And don't ascribe mysterious reasons to failure and mysterious reasons to success. When Einstein was, faith is required, of course. When Einstein was asked, what is your secret? Edison was asked, what is his secret? He said you must be having inspiration all the time. Famous words of Edison. 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. So while inspiration is required, perspiration is also required. So we can't say, oh, nothing works for me. I must be ready to work. I must be ready to work against adversities. I must be ready to think that I'm going to succeed. That's where hope comes into play. Thank you.
Thank you. In this hope deficit scenario of today, how does a service organization like Rotary contribute?
I won't call it the hope deficit situation.
Okay.
I refuse to call it a hope deficit situation. It is a time when hope is a little low, yes, I agree, because of all this that we have gone through. Now, what is the motto of Rotary? What did Paul P. Harris say? Service above self? Service above self. Every Rotarian must be knowing this. Service above self. Now, keep your attention on service above self, and you'll see how things turn out in the other direction. When you understand that this grief is not only for me but also for hundreds and millions of people around me, then my grief is diminished. It becomes part of the whole, right? And then I say, let me serve the other. I'm okay. Look, at least I have a house, I have food, I have a place to sleep. I'm either not had COVID or I'm free of it and I have taken 2 vaccinations, suppose. Now what do? Sit home? Go and look after the other guy who is still not in the same state as I am. That's called service above the self. I know it needs money. I heard Rotarian Muthu Palaniappan ask for help and so on. Of course, you can't run anything without money. I understand that. But the main thing is the mind. If the mind is clear, everything happens. Especially if you're going to do a good thing. Ramana Maharshi once said that when you run behind things seem to run away from you. You say, I don't want anything, I want to do good, all things come behind you. In fact, Jesus Christ in the New Testament said something similar. He said, seek ye first the kingdom of the God and the rest shall be added unto you. My advice to Rotarians, seek ye first service above self and the rest shall come by itself. I'm telling you, this is honestly from my heart. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that. One last question before we call it a session for the
Sure.
day. There are a lot of questions, so I'm trying to get in which are common questions so that most of the people get answers to their questions. One last question is, how do we face challenges?
This is what we have been discussing all along, ma'am. How to face challenges. In fact, I would say that life is really insipid and useless if we don't have challenges. Let's put it that way. There is no challenge. What is life all about? Life itself is a challenge. You know what Darwin said? Survival of the fittest. What does that mean? To survive, you have to be fit. There's no way out. So I think challenges are part of life. The problem is we think that there should be no challenges, then life will be hunky-dory. No, impossible. There is no situation in this life where there is no some challenge or the other. I know people who are very rich, they have other challenges. I know people who are very poor, their challenge is I am not rich. So challenge is part of life. So instead of running away from it, I know sometimes you have to run away, you have to take some opium and so on. I'm not an advocate of opium, but what I mean. But we need to face challenge in the face. The only way to get rid of fear, for instance, is to face it. You cannot get rid of it out. Suppose somebody is in the dark somewhere, there is someone lurking, there is a devil there, don't go. If you are afraid and if you don't go, you will never go out any day from your house because of the fear. One day just take it into your hands and say, let the devil attack me, I am going out. Go out and say, there is no devil out there in the dark, and there you are free. So take challenges, don't use the word challenge. Take it as a pointer to move my life forward. Say that a challenge is a milestone. I have traveled this way, I said 12 kilometers more, and now I'm going to do it. I think that's the only attitude. If you have faith, either in yourself or in a divinity, or that divinity is in you, it can be anything, or you have faith in humanitarian efforts also, that you should look after others. If that is also there in your mind, then you can certainly face the challenge. Again, I have to reiterate, faith and hope are very important. Can we call it a day? I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah. Thank you, Shri M, for answering those questions and enlightening us with your experiences and your knowledge.
Thank you very much.
Very much.